The Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro met with representatives of the communes and international observers for the evaluation of the second popular national consultation 2024. The World Health Organization launched a global strategic preparedness and response plans to contain the spread of outbreak of transmission of the monkeypox virus, formerly known as monkeypox. And the International Atomic Energy Agency warned that there is a risk of a nuclear accident at the Russian Kursk power plant. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Marrero from the teleSUR headquarters in Caracas, Venezuela. We'll begin with the news. Stay with us. And just a moments ago, the Minister of Interior and Justice, Diosdado Cabello, announced that the electrical system of Venezuela suffered an attack, leaving several parts of the country without electricity. Let's recall that the country is suffering constant attacks against the government of Venezuela right now due to the constant attacks from the far right after the elections and during the government of Nicolás Maduro, and the government was W.H.O. Let's remember that there was a fight, a war between the far right and the current government because they don't recognize the results of the elections as they numbered, and they recall that the president of the country is Nicolás Maduro, and the Minister of Interior and Justice, Diosdado Cabello, just said that currently and right now we're suffering in the country electrical attacks. And now the Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro met with representatives of the communes and international observers for the evaluation of the second popular national consultation 2024. At the so-called White Palace in the city of Caracas, the head of state, together with the Executive Vice President Delcy Rodriguez and Minister of Communes Ángel Prado, received the communes residents the await for the constitutional results, the consultation's results. The head of state highlights that the chosen projects will receive their findings in the coming days and stress the event as an example of participatory democracy in the country. In addition, during the meeting, the president made changes to his government cabinet in order to accelerate changes needed by the people. This includes appointing General Merritt Fernandez as the new Minister of Agriculture, Leticia Gomez as Minister of Tourism, Anabel Pereira Fernandez was appointed as Minister of Finance and Foreign Trade, while Pedro W.H.O was designated as Minister of Industry. The President also ratified Delcy Rodriguez as the Vice President of the Republic and appointed her as the new Minister of Petroleum, with Héctor Obregón being appointed as President of PDVSA.
It is a spiritual struggle, of course, and we are winning. In the spiritual plan, we are just winning over those demonizing surnames, oligarchy, but the social processes of organizations and empowerment, they last they have to last for years. It is a fair and right idea to build up a new democracy. Time is needed for its implementation, for its explanation, for its development. If it is always new, if it tries to disrupt from that democracy of elites, of those fake and liar democracies, it is always going to be a rehearsal. Some say that it may be a mistake, but we rather say that it is a rehearsal and learning, because in each rehearsal turns out to be a learning. Since our dear commander Hugo Rafael Chavez Frias launched the proposal, based on the grounds of constitution, on the grounds of the concept of building up a state, a social state, a democratic state of rights and justice, building up a new democracy, a new participatory and protagonist democracy.
During his meeting with representatives of the communes and international observers for the evaluation of the second popular national consultation, President Nicolás Maduro thanked the Brazilian delegation present.
This cup was given by the delegation of Brazil. It is beautiful, isn't it? Because we are followers of Zamora, Vladimir Padrino Lopez, and as Zamora followers, we received the movement without lands of Brazil, because saying movement without lands is like saying Ezequiel Zamora. I am going to put it here to preside this great meeting.
For centuries, Brazilian black population has been marginated in the political system, but thanks to the new laws, times are changing. In Brazil, our correspondent Brian Mir has the details.
55% of Brazil's population traces its ethnic heritage to Africa, but historically this demographic has been woefully underrepresented in politics. Thanks to a 2020 court ruling on a law drafted by Workers' Party Congresswoman and civil rights leader Benedita da Silva, however, the scenario is expected to improve on October 6th, when voters will go to the polls to elect 5,569 mayors and around 58,000 city councilors.
We're the majority of the population, but we're a minority in decision-making spaces in the legislative and executive branches of the local, state, and federal governments. So we've been trying to correct this. Implementing quotas requiring the political parties to allocate a percentage of their campaign funding and airtime to strengthen our candidacies is an issue of social justice.
2020 marked the first local election cycle in which political parties were required to allocate 30% of their campaign funding to Afro-Brazilian candidates, and the result was the highest percentage of black local elected officials in history. Currently, 44% of all city councilors and 32% of all mayors are Afro-Brazilian. It's a percentage that is still lower than their representation in the population at large, but the scenario is expected to improve on October 6th.
Essas eleições de 2024
The 2024 elections provide a crucial opportunity for black candidates to establish themselves and amplify their political influence, paving the way for them to seek higher office in 2026. Our progress is unstoppable.
Brian Mir, teleSUR, Recife.
Let's take a short break, but remember you can now join us on our TikTok account as teleSUR English, where you'll be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and more. Stay tuned for more news. Welcome back to From the South. The World Health Organization launched a global strategic preparedness and response plans to contain the spread of outbreak of transmission of the MPOX virus, formerly known as monkeypox. According to the statement from the International Medical Institution, the plan involves World Health Organization member states and partners, including African centers for the disease control and prevention, communities, and researchers. Efforts will focus on those most at risk, including those in direct contact with those who have recently become ill, as well as healthcare workers, with a view to interrupting change of transmission. The World Health Organization declared the MPOX virus a public health emergency of international concern after the outbreak of infection spread to countries in Africa. In this context, in Thailand, the Department of Disease Control confirmed the first known case in Asia of a more contagious and lethal version of the human immunodefenses virus, monkeypox. Authorities confirmed a 66-year-old patient who had traveled to Thailand from Africa infected with the so-called clade IB, a new and potentially more deadly strain of MPOX, the first in Asia and the second outside Africa. The newly identified variant can be transmitted by infected animals and pass from person to person through close physical contact, human excretion, or the contaminated items. World Health Organization officials also reported that the most vulnerable groups are women and children under the age of 15. On Monday, the United Nations said that humanitarian work in the Gaza Strip has taken a serious blow after Israel ordered a new evacuation in the center of the Gaza territory. The order affects 15 premises hosting UN and NGO aid workers, UN warehouses, water desalination plant, and medical facilities, including the key Al-Aqsa Hospital, one of the few still operating in Gaza. More than 10 months of war between Palestinian militant group Hamas and Israel have left large parts of Gaza in ruins, revenge its healthcare system, and sparked other humanitarian crisis and warning of famine.
2 months ago, Abdul Rahman was suffering from vomiting and fever, and he became unable to move, laugh, or walk. I took him to Al-Aqsa Hospital, where they gave him antibiotics for 2 weeks. In the first 2 weeks, they sent a sample to Jordan as they suspected he might have contracted polio. After 2 weeks of illness, I was shocked when the ministry called and informed me that Abdul Rahman was the first case confirmed to have contracted polio.
Indigenous people around the world are preparing for COP16, a meeting that seeks to organize the agenda of the different governments and indigenous people within the COP16 Biodiversity Conference to be held at the end of the next month in Cali, Colombia. Our colleague Valeria Cardona with the details.
More than 150 representatives of governments and indigenous peoples from 7 regions around the world gather at the Botanical Garden in Bogotá for the Global Summit of Traditional Knowledge related to the world's biodiversity, an event that runs from August 26 to 29, 2024.
Today we are precisely at the Biodiversity Summit within the framework of traditional knowledge. And here we will develop an agenda that seems fundamental to us. And that is how we describe ourselves as indigenous peoples of the world to arrive with a clear message to the world, from our knowledge, from our ancestry, but especially from our cultural practices.
During these 4 days, indigenous representatives from around the world will seek to create a joint agenda that they will present during the days of the COP16 in the city of Cali, which will take place during the last days of September and the beginning of the month of October under 2 main objectives.
The purpose of this meeting, or this World Summit of Indigenous Peoples on Biodiversity, is to ratify the demand for the recognition of the know-how of indigenous peoples and its contribution to humanity, which contributes to the sustainability of biodiversity. Ambassadors present here recognize that 80% of the world's biodiversity is managed by indigenous governments, based on their knowledge systems, on their regulatory systems, on their governance systems. So this has to be an objective.
The second objective, according to the General Council of the National Organization of Indigenous Peoples of Colombia, has to do with the discussion of an article related to biodiversity, which requires the creation of a permanent committee to follow up and implement the knowledge systems of the indigenous peoples.
Our elders from the different indigenous peoples have been teaching us through dancing, singing, through music. They have been transmitting this knowledge to learn to love, to care, to defend, and especially all the indigenous peoples of the planet have taught us to take care of nature. And this is important today, and I believe that COP16 should assume this as a teaching method not only for the indigenous peoples but for all humanity, because we need it.
Colombian Environment Minister Susana Muhammad says that indigenous peoples are key players in the discussion of biodiversity in the world and seek to make their knowledge available, to be recognized as stakeholders who govern and exercise sovereignty over biodiversity issues in the world, and to have an impact on decisions on this issue at the global level.
Valeria Cardona, TeleSUR, Bogotá, Colombia.
On Monday, the 53rd Pacific Islands Forum Leaders meeting PIF opened in Nuku'alofa, capital of Tonga, and it will be held until Friday, August 30, as governments need to take urgent actions for countering climate change. On the forum, over 1,500 delegates from over 40 nations are making proposals aligned with the 2050 strategies aimed at building a resilient Pacific region of peace, security, social inclusion, and prosperity. Participants urge the world's biggest polluters to do much more to jump off the green energy consumption, as low-lying islands countries are the most affected, although they are the lowest greenhouse gas emitters worldwide. Let's take our last break, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at TeleSUR English, where you'll be able to watch an interviews, top stories, special broadcasts, and more. Hit the subscribe button and active the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. One final short break, don't go away. Welcome back. The International Atomic Energy Agency warned that there is a risk of a nuclear accident at the Russian Kursk power plant. Kursk, the director of the agency, Rafael Grossi, warned about the seriousness of the situation at the site due to the fighting that is taking place in the surrounding of the Russian region. Grossi specified that the site is currently still operating in very close to normal conditions. However, he said that any impact on the plant could have serious consequences. According to the Russian authorities, the plant has been repeatedly attacked by the Ukrainian forces. The Russian government pronounced itself on arrest of Telegram's chief executive officer, Pavel Durov, who is currently in French custody. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said that the French authorities have not presented evidence of the charge against the businessman. He also dismissed media reports that Pavel Durov had met with Russian President Vladimir Putin during his visit to Azerbaijan. Peskov refused to give any additional opinions on Durov's detention and assured that the Kremlin will wait until the situation of the Telegram director is clarified before issuing an official statement. Police in India fired tear gas and water cannons on Tuesday as they clashed with thousands of protesters seeking justice for a doctor who was raped and murdered in Kolkata this month. Tuesday, demonstrations saw thousands march to a government building in Kolkata to demand the resignation of Mamata Banerjee, the chief minister of West Bengal state. They shout slogans and clash with police, who charge the ground with batons in an effort to disperse it. Numerous protesters in Kolkata, prompted by the crime, have transformed into political rallies with police scuffles with demonstrators from the ruling Bharatiya Janata Party angry at the state government.
People's rights should be introduced in West Bengal. Students' rights should be introduced in West Bengal. Women's rights should be introduced in West Bengal. This is our demand, and that's why we came on the road today. If Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee does not resign, the culprits of the crime will not be found and punished. People of West Bengal won't.
Changing topics. The 20th edition of the World Under-20 Athletic Championship begins on Tuesday in the capital city of Lima, Peru. Let's see.
This 2024 will be the third time that this championship will be held in South America. 1,720 athletes under the age of 20 from 134 countries have been confirmed, making this the largest event ever held in the country. With a capacity of 7,500 spectators, the Vidina Athletic Stadium will be the venue for the competitions. The championship will be attended by international athletes who stood out in the last Olympic Games, such as South African Bradley Nkoana, Olympic medalist in Paris, who will compete in the 100 and 200 meters, as well as Jamaican Alana Reid, who helped her country reach the Olympic final in the 4x100 meters relay, now competing in the 100 meters.
And with that story, we have come to the end of the news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on our socials. We're on Facebook, on X, and on Instagram as well. For Telesur English, and from the South, I'm Marrero. Thank you for watching.